Hey, South here. Beautiful day this morning. It was minus something. I don't know. I think it was only -1, but they said it felt like -9, but that can't be right. Anyway, this is goes out to anyone who's got a kid or any young blokes who want to be race car drivers and are looking at their end game being Supercar, Australian Supercar series. Stop it. Don't. You're not going to like what I say, and you're not going to believe what I say, because a lot of people now, even all the drivers, they grew up and that's all they know, and they've been fed this propaganda from supercar people and the supercar media about how great it is and how great their drivers are and all this stuff for over 30 years now. And all these young blokes coming into it think it's true, but it's not. Supercars is a very small regional series. Very small. I'll give you an idea how small it is. They got a couple of crown jewel events that they get big crowds to, Bathurst and Adelaide, and I think Townsville is another one that they get big crowds to. But other events they don't. Their television viewership is tiny. Like tiny. Apart from Bathurst. They struggle to get 120,000 people watching their TV telecast. 120,000. It's really small, and their crowds that go to these shows, apart from those big ones I mentioned, are also very small. That last race at Eastern Creek, or Sydney Motorsport Park that it's called now, I reckon they were lucky to have 2,000 people there. Give you a comparison, like horse racing is the biggest televised sport in Australia, and no one's going to get close to it. But women's rugby league in Australia, not the main game, women's rugby league get bigger crowds than the Supercar series. Okay? That's the problem. And because the Supercar is a car that was built, that went away from all the things that made the Australian Touring Car Championship great, and they developed this car that has no relationship to any other motorsport category in the world, there's nowhere to go. You're learning how to drive a car that takes you nowhere. And it's got all these antiquated. They went backwards from the last gen car to the current car. They went backwards in technology. They had ground effect in the last car, and they got rid of it for the new car. They got a locked spool. Whose idea was that, to be running a locked final drive in a race car in 2025? No other bitumen, tin top category, or any category that races on bitumen in the world, I would think, would have a locked final drive. If I'm wrong, if there is one you can tell me about, let me know. But I can't think of anyone that would. It's just so outdated and ridiculous, and and it forces these drivers to right foot brake, which like no one else does. I know that you all think that's really special too, but because that's all you know, because that's what's been rammed down your throats. But it's just so silly. And the other thing is, Do you know why no international drivers come over here and race in Supercar? None. Like, none do. I mean, they've had this propaganda about a few of the NASCAR Cup guys coming over, but it's just all bullshit. Because it doesn't. It's nothing. It doesn't correlate with anything anyone else does. No one has any interest in it around the world. The NASCAR garage in America doesn't know anything about it or any who these drivers are. And the little bit I know, look, someone like Jamie Whincup. That guy was obviously a very talented guy and achieved a lot in Supercar. But you go to any garages throughout the world and ask anyone who he is, apart from his being a successful businessman now, nobody would know. People know who Scott McLaughlin is now because he got a great gig going to IndyCar. I know he did want to go to NASCAR, but Penske didn't have a pathway for him to get to the NASCAR Cup Series, so they took him to IndyCar, which is great. Like, he's a internationally recognised driver now. He's a big deal, and he's killing it. Same with Van Gisbergen, and he's over there doing the same thing in the Cup Series. No one knew who he was either. And that's the sad thing. These guys spend their whole lives, people like Whincup, and I can't name any others. I don't know who they are. Racing in that Supercar series, achieving all these great Supercar things, and the only people who know about it are guys in their garage drinking VBs, wearing a wife beater with a Peter Brock picture on the wall. Internationally, in the motorsport scene, no one knows who they are because it's just nothing. If I had a kid or I was building a team and wanted someone to progress through motorsport to the higher levels, I'd put them in one of the GT classes. They're all the GT3, GT4. The new Mustang class, it's all Mustangs, one of those classes. The Porsche classes, all those that all correlate to other forms of motorsport throughout the world. Or the Australian Trans Am / TA2 guys. Now, if you want to go stock car racing and make big money, or the potential to make big money if you're any good at it, that's where I'd go. I'd go to the Trans Am because those chassis are very similar. They drive like a real race car. They're an awesome bit of gear, and that's going to teach you about stock car racing because they're the closest thing to a stock car that we have here. So that's where I'd be putting my investment in a young person. In a GT class or in a Trans Am class, not Supercar, because there's nowhere to go. There's nothing that they compare to, and nobody cares about them. That's why nobody comes here and races in that. Nobody ever, when it was Australian Touring Car Champion, international drivers used to come from all over the world to race. In those, have a crack and run Bathurst and those sorts of things. Bathurst gets 60,000 people to the race on Sunday. I know some of you won't believe this, but they don't get 200,000 people. That's over 4 days. So they get 60, which is great. But, it's not. It's in Australia, it's good, and it's Bathurst. But but throughout the world, people look at it, and we get a lot of people here looking at it. That's one race. If you want to go racing cars, you want to be successful, look at one of the other categories. Look at the TA2 cars, the Trans Am cars, and one of the GT classes, that new Mustang class, and build your portfolio doing that, then that'll try and get you overseas, because a supercar it's nothing. Cheers.